Alright, so this is where you get started with the project, right? So I have actually pushed the hardware files as well as the script into GitHub. Well, this is my first time pushing the stuff up to GitHub, so please forgive me if there is anything going wrong. Alright, so there is a few things that you need. Hardware-wise, you will need the Raspberry Pi 4. I think the Raspberry Pi 3 will work as well, but I would recommend Raspberry Pi 4 because, the USB transfer speed is a lot better on Pi 4. Right, some sort of power supply for it, some SD card to load the Raspberry Pi OS, an SD card reader, of course, to read the SD card content, or your flash card, your CF flash card if you're using one of those. And then a local storage device. In my case, it's basically an SSD in a USB to SATA enclosure, just to save all the stuff that I pull off the SD card or the CF flash. Okay, then the the Raspberry Pi GPIO board. So this you will get from this hardware folder, okay, which I will show you later on. All right. So in terms of software, basically you will need a copy of the Raspberry Pi OS. I will show you where to get it later on, which is actually quite easy. Python, which I think comes included with the Raspberry Pi OS. Git as well comes with it, and KiCad if you want to, do some editing or like make some export on the GPIO board. And lastly, this is a bit of an optional thing to have. So if you have a nice NextCloud server, then what you can do is you can install the NextCloud desktop client on the Raspberry Pi itself, so that it would handle syncing the files from your Raspberry Pi to your home server as a backup. Kind of a offsite backup kind of thing. You can use other sync services like OwnCloud, SyncThing, Dropbox if you fancy one of those. So this is with the assumption that you already have your Raspberry Pi 4 on hand, and you can get the latest Pi OS through the official site. And I would suggest using the Raspberry Pi Imager because it's a lot easier. You just install. Yeah, I have it installed already. So you just have it here. Okay, and basically you just choose the operating system. Yeah, Raspberry Pi OS, of course, and then choose your SD card and then just write to it. It's that simple. Okay, all right. So one thing is, I will not be covering all the upgrade process and all the setup stuff that you will have to do, including changing your default password, configuring your Pi so that you can SSH into it, and this kind of stuff. There are plenty of guides out there, so I will not be covering those. So connection configuration. So this is basically because after you have set up everything, there is no easy way for you to change the network connection from this Wi-Fi access point to that Wi-Fi access point, so on and so forth. So it is highly recommended that you configure your Pi to be able to connect to your smartphone's hotspot in the first place, so that when you go off to your hotel room, you can use your Wi-Fi. You can use your smartphone hotspot to do the sync back to your cloud server. Okay. One more thing is that if you're not familiar with doing SSH and terminal into stuff, installing VNC will help a lot, because okay, what you can do is you can have a virtual, so remote desktop into your Raspberry Pi. Alright, so once you have got all the setup stuff done, so let's pull the script into your Raspberry Pi. So my way of doing it is I'm going to SSH in. I've already SSH into my Pi, and let's just get started. So because I have already used this in my trip, so let's just make it delete everything so that we can start from scratch. So as you can see, this is my Python script that previously I got it running here. So Okay, so with that done. So what we can do, what we want to do is we can grab all this by going to code, copy this, here. It should download all the stuff from, all the files from GitHub to your Pi. So we can. All right, so here you go. We have all of this in here. So one thing you want to check is so most of these don't have executable rights. So what I'm gonna do is, here. So I'm gonna do sudo chmod plus x for anything that ends in py. So with that, all of the Python script can be executed, as you can see here. All right. So next, okay, so for this part, I won't be showing you how to do this because it is a mess. There is a thread on how to do it, but there is a thread on how to do it that you can follow right here. All right, so next up, so you need to plug in your SD card and the storage so that we can find out what is the path to this SD card and your storage. They should have auto-mounted, so let's just do sudo cat, what is it, function mount. Okay, so as you can see here, so I have SDA, which is my SSD, which is my local storage. Then there is SDC disk, and this would be my SD card. Okay, so to confirm that, we can also cd to that directory. So for example, media SSD, and yeah, so this is basically what I have inside my local storage. So this is my local storage. So I can confirm the other one. Okay, and yeah, DCIM, I go to go into DCIM, so this is basically a folder structure that I have for Fuji cameras. So yours might differ, so you need to check on this, and this information will come into play later on. Okay, so next, so we need to edit this file so that it is looking at the correct file. Okay, for example, desktop gestation. All right, so I will need to edit this file. You can actually do it via the GUI way, which is you connect to here, then you go to Investation, and then you edit with your favorite editor. Okay, but I'm just gonna add portable. Okay, I'm just gonna go here. All right, so if you remember what I have just now, so this would be this is the correct directory for me. So this is basically my SD card, and this is, well, basically my my local storage. Okay, and the bottom line here is actually you need to find out what is the folder structure for your camera. So for Fuji, it's basically the pictures and media is actually stored in DCIM, and then some number underscore by Fuji. So this asterisk is actually a wildcard so that Linux site knows what to look for. Okay, it's actually looking for anything that ends with, any folder that ends with underscore Fuji. Then it will take it as the sync source. It will grab the pictures and media from this folder. And this is basically the folder structure for my local storage, which I have a folder inside there named sync target. So what it's going to do is it's going to grab all the media from this folder and dump it into sync target. Okay, so yours will probably vary. So please double check and then edit this 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So once you're done, exit by doing a Control X, and in your case, you will have to do an enter. Okay. All right. So that's the editing part. So next, or you might want to do a test before before proceeding, because after that, every edit that you make, you need to have to do a reboot of the Raspberry Pi in order to have it make it take effect. The easiest way to test it is to come into the Raspberry Pi, double click it, prompt out this for Tony, Python IDE, and just click run. Okay, so it will show ARM. Okay, and if I press on the button, okay, don't worry about the permission denied. It will still work, because we are just trying to find whether or not the mount is successful. All right. So in this case, both devices are found because I have both the SD card and the SSD plugged in. And also, it was trying to do an rsync between the SD card and the SSD, but there was nothing, no difference to be synced over. And that's why it says local copy done and back to ARM. Okay, so once you have tested everything and it works perfectly, so what you want to do is you want to have it have the script to start on boot, which means that once you power up the Pi, it will automatically run the script so that you don't have to do anything else other than connect your SD card and your local devices, and then just press the button and it should take care of everything else. Right. So to do that, we are going to use something called the systemd. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to tell systemd that there is 2 services that they should pick up and run on boot. So we need to create the service file. So the way to do it is let's just copy this. Okay. Okay, and then paste in here. Be careful because this should be the path to your repo, which okay. That should be the path to a repo, which you can find out by doing if you follow the guide just now, it should be in your desktop. So cd to desktop, okay, and cd portable station, and if you do pwd, and this will be your path. Okay, so let's save it somewhere. Okay, so let's do that again. Ingest service. Okay, sorry. So if we go here, paste it in, and this we would change it to copy the entire thing. Okay, and Control X and Y, enter to save. Right. So let's do the same thing for the second service. Copy this, paste it in. Okay, then you will want to paste in the next one. Oops. Okay, and again, you need this to be your path. Okay, all right. Again, Control X, Y, enter to save. All right. So once you have the service file running, so what you want to do is enable it. So let's copy it. This is to tell systemd to reload, to refresh the list of services that that's available. So let's do that. Okay, and once that's in, so what you can do is sudo systemctl enable, then you can type in one of these services. So if I go local and do a tab to autocomplete, it should pop up. If it doesn't, then you might need to check, recheck your steps. So enable, enter. So let's do the same thing again, but for the second service, which is the NextCloud Sync Spec service, enter, and it is enabled. So now what you can do is basically you can restart the Raspberry Pi, and it should power. You should hear the 3 seconds beep on boot up. Yep. So with that, basically your Ingest station is ready to rock. So if you have your NextCloud server and desktop client set up correctly, what you should also have is after the content of the content of the SD card has been synced over to the SSD, you can set up the NextCloud client to sync the content of the SSD to your NextCloud server. So that kind of acts like the offsite backup for whatever that you have captured during your trip. This is going to take some time due to this is being synced over the internet. But what's more important is all your pictures and all your media that you have captured for the day is safely backed up in your SSD, which is your local storage. You can actually leave this entire device if you have it connected to, say, your hotspot, your phone hotspot, and if you have unlimited data cap. What you can do is you can leave it overnight, whereby it will just do the sync on its own in the background overnight, and when you wake up in the next morning, everything would have been backed up safely to your NextCloud server.